If you pay attention to any kind of mainstream fitness advice, you've probably been led to believe that anterior pelvic tilt is bad. But in this video, I'm going to tell you why it may not necessarily be the demon that it's been made out to be. And I'm going to show you how you can make it your best friend again and actually help it serve you and help you move better instead of it being the source of your pain. So when it comes to anterior pelvic tilt, there's a couple of things that you need to know. Number one is anterior pelvic tilt is not bad. Anterior pelvic tilt is not bad. Anterior pelvic tilt is actually necessary, and you need to be able to move into anterior pelvic tilt and move out of anterior pelvic tilt. And most people, the issue occurs because they move into it and they get stuck there and they can't move out of it. But also an even bigger issue that I see with so many clients who are struggling with lower back pain, with hip mobility restrictions, is that their anterior pelvic tilt is almost always coupled with an anterior pelvic shift. And that's where the real issue starts to occur, and that's where we start to get stuck in that position. Let me explain that. So an anterior pelvic tilt is actually an essential movement. If you look at any of the best athletes in the world, you'll see that most of them actually have an anterior pelvic tilt. And that's because an anterior tilt of the pelvis is actually essential for force production, power production, and if we want to actually be able to move in a very dynamic ways throughout the world, we need anterior pelvic tilt. It happens in every step we take in our gait cycle. So as you walk and run through the world, as you go for your coffee this morning, you're going to go into some form of anterior pelvic tilt, even if your biomechanics in your body move in the most optimal way. Now, a genuine anterior pelvic tilt happens when we get the pelvis actually tilting forward, okay? And that happens on axis. So imagine I've got a line through the center of my pelvis and my pelvis rotates around that axis. So it takes our ASIS and our PSIS and it actually drops our ASIS below our PSIS, and then our posterior tilt brings that back. But the major issue I see in most people that we work with here is that this anterior pelvic tilt is normally coupled with an anterior pelvic shift, where the whole pelvis and our body center of mass actually drifts forward in space. And that's what leads to a lot of compression here at the lower back. It's what closes off this space here at the back of our pelvis, because now we're trying to hold on. Let me show you what that looks like in my body. So most people, instead of getting that genuine anterior pelvic tilt, what happens is they start to get a tilt, but then they get a shift of the pelvis forward in this direction. That compresses here, and that doesn't feel very nice. And what most people actually try to do to resolve an anterior pelvic tilt is just try get out of an anterior pelvic tilt by squeezing their glutes, by tucking down their tailbone, squeezing their abs and pulling themselves into this kind of position here. But that's not really going to get you anywhere, because that's not accounting for the fact that you can't anterior tilt on axis. The issue, like I mentioned, is that people anterior tilt, but they also shift forward. So the real work in the beginning is not to actually just squeeze your glutes, pull your hips back and really tuck that pelvis under, because now we're going to develop bigger issues down the line. What you need to actually do is actually teach your body how to anterior tilt in an on-axis environment. That means that if you imagine you've got a straight line going through the center of your pelvis, that you actually articulate and rotate around that, instead of rotating around that and shifting your entire body weight forward. So now I'm going to show you one simple exercise you can do on the ground that is going to teach your body how to get into an anterior pelvic tilt and also get out of an anterior pelvic tilt, but do that in an on-axis way that incorporates your rib cage and your skull. Because at the end of the day, to move well, to be able to move in the way that we want, we need these articulations to happen between our joints. We need relative motions. We need coordination between our body. And we need to be able to do that in an on-axis environment that maintains our center of gravity in an optimal position, so that we don't start taking extra stress into our lower back, so that we don't start to develop compression at our hips, that we can actually have space to move into and move out of. And that's the absolute key. So this simple exercise now that I'm going to show you is something that you can do every single day. You can do it for 5 to 10 minutes if you've got the time, but it's really important that you just slow down on this one. Take it slow, take it gentle, and really focus on the quality and awareness of your movement here. It's not going to be an overly taxing exercise, but it's going to be tricky in other ways, particularly if you're stuck in that anterior pelvic shift and you can't get out of it. And the last thing I will say on this exercise is to make sure that you incorporate the breath and really just take it slow. Trust me on this one, guys. Less is more here, and less is actually going to get you much more results than trying to squeeze, hold on, and pull your pelvis into a posterior tilt. So let's get into it. Okay, so to get started, we're going to lie on the floor. We're going to have a bend in the knees so that my feet are in full contact with the floor, but we shouldn't feel any kind of stretch or discomfort on the knees. So just bend them as much as is comfortable for you, and make sure that you can get both feet in full, the soles of your feet in contact with the floor. So for this, there's a couple of things we just want to bring awareness to in this position, okay? The floor now is helping us stack our skull, our rib cage, and our pelvis in a nice alignment here. And what we want to think of doing first is just put awareness to where we feel the pressures, because some people can tend to have a shift in one side of the pelvis versus the other. Some people can have a shift in the rib cage, and you may feel that when you're lying on the ground here. So if you put your attention to imagine where the tag is on the back of your trousers, okay, right on that top of the pelvis. And then if you feel on either side of the pelvis, you've got your PSIS, one on each side. Okay, and that's like the pointy bone on the back of your pelvis. So just feel, do you feel heavier more maybe towards your left or towards your right? And if you do have that imbalance, just sort of slightly even it out. So if you have more pressure on your right one, or so you feel, just slightly adjust your pelvis to try even out that pressure. Same at the back of the rib cage here. So think of that area around the mid to upper back and the scaps. If you feel like you're more heavier and on one scapula or one side of that upper back, let's just even it out and try and maintain even pressure on both sides at the pelvis and at the back, okay, the upper back. Same at the skull. If you feel your head is tilted to one side, you just want to imagine you're looking straight up at the ceiling. So we're just trying to even out those pressures first, because now when we go into our move, we're going to start actually bringing those structures back into alignment. So we take that twist out, we bring it back into alignment, and then we teach those articulations and allow our body to actually start feeling that, okay? So to set up, we're in our start position, and all we want to do is I can have my hands here, I can have them just relaxed by the side, it doesn't really matter. And what we want to do first is I want to put my attention to my pelvis, and I want you to imagine your pubic bone or your pubic symphysis, okay? That bone or that area right in the center and bottom of your pelvis. What I want you to start doing while keeping those pressures even, as we did already, is you're just going to start to take that pubic symphysis and push it down between your legs. So you're thinking of sending that pubic symphysis down between your legs and towards the ground. Okay, and that's kind of initiating now an anterior tilt in our pelvis. Then I just want you to pull that pubic symphysis back up through your legs and think of pointing it more towards the wall straight ahead. So when we point it away and send it through our legs, we're just initiating an anterior pelvic tilt, and slowly pull it back and initiate that posterior pelvic tilt. And this is super relaxed. We shouldn't be contracting our glutes here. We shouldn't be contracting any real muscles to put the forces into this. This should be nice and relaxed and just moving between those two positions. So just feel that out first. Practice a couple of reps. You should feel as you push your pubic symphysis away that your lower back, that you actually create like an arch or a tunnel here at your lower back. And then as you pull that back, you should feel your lower back move closer to the floor. And again, we're not looking for abs here to kick on and crunch. Nice and relaxed, just roll that pelvis back, roll that pelvis forward. And what I want you to start paying attention to now as you do that nice and slowly is what's happening at the rib cage and the skull. Maybe nothing is happening, but what should be happening and what we want to start to encourage now is as I take my pubic symphysis and send it down through my legs into that anterior tilt, I want you to notice that your chin or your skull also goes into an anterior tilt. So your chin here, as you send that pubic symphysis down and forward, I want you to imagine or feel that that chin starts to move down in that same direction. So your chin and your pubic symphysis are moving in the same direction together, okay? So we get that skull anterior tilting, lengthening the back of the neck as we anterior tilt that pelvis. And then also what I want you to now pay attention to is the rib cage. So as you push that pelvis forward, the chin comes down. I want you to feel that that rib cage actually lifts and posterior tilts. So what I want you to imagine is as you push that pubic symphysis away, imagine your sternum bone here, this chest bone here at the front. Imagine that your chin and your sternum are coming slightly closer together. And then as we posterior tilt and pull that pubic symphysis back up, that the chin and the sternum move away from each other. So now you see how we're starting to get these opposite articulations happening. My pelvis and my skull travel together, and my rib cage does the opposite. So skull and pelvis are going this way, my rib cage is posterior tilting. So I'm not arching my back, I'm just feeling that lifting of the rib cage here at the front. And then as I come back, I feel the rib cage drop. So it may be helpful to place the hands on the rib cage here. So check back in, even out those pressures again at the pelvis, at the upper back, and at the skull, so that we've got this nice stacked central alignment. And then from here, we're going to initiate by sending that pubic symphysis towards the floor. Feel the chin follow, feel the rib cage lift, and the sternum and the chin come slightly closer together. And then feel the opposite happen as you come back. And what we want to do, if that movement is not there, we just want to start to encourage it a little bit more. So bit by bit, feel as you anterior tilt, you can kind of more consciously bring that chin down, allow that rib cage to come up without overly forcing it, but just putting a little bit of intent behind it. And then as I posterior tilt, feel the rib cage drop, feel the chin kind of lift and follow along with that pelvis. And you're just going to work nice and easy here. Again, just evening out the pressures, checking in, are you leaning more to one side or the other? Try bring yourself back to center, and then just nice and relaxed, moving in and out of these positions, okay? Last thing that we add here is our breath. So as I anterior tilt and I get my chin coming down, my rib cage elevating, I'm going to inhale, okay? So it's going to be in through the nose. And then as I come back, exhale my air out. Inhale. Exhale. And we're just moving between one or the other. Again, this is a sensory, this is an awareness drill. This is starting to feel those articulations happen. And again, I can exaggerate this a little bit. So I can really send that pubic symphysis down and really allow that chin to follow. But again, without holding too much tension, I'm just encouraging those movements to happen a little bit more. And as I come back and exhale, we're not crunching through the abs. We're just allowing everything to roll back. Feel that lower back kind of move into the floor a little bit. Chin moves away and rib cage drops down a little bit. But again, we're not crunching here. Keep the abs relaxed. So inhale. Exhale. So this is one you just want to practice every single day and practice feeling those articulations. And then when we stand back up into standing, now those articulations, our body has experienced what that's like to happen on axis. So that is our floor cogs exercise. Very simple but very powerful exercise that works so well for people, particularly people who are very restricted, very tight, who tend to kind of grasp and hold on to every part of their body just to stay upright. So if you're looking to relieve the tension, if you're looking to start to restore those articulations, that's a super effective exercise that works well for a lot of our clients who are very, very tight and very tense in their movement. And This is just one exercise that we incorporate in our 9-week corrective foundations program. This is our 9-week guided program where we take you through everything you need to do from the very beginning. We help you restore tissue quality, decompress your body, and start to restore natural articulations, natural movement patterns, and biomechanics like this. And we also assess you so that we can guide you on exactly what it is you need to focus on in the program. So we look at your hip range of motion, your spinal range of motion, your shoulders, and we look at where the imbalances and restrictions lie so that you can then employ that into the program, get the support you need, and actually resolve the issues that you're experiencing once and for all. You can find out more about that in the description below. But that's pretty much it for this video. Leave a comment below, let me know how you found this exercise, our floor cogs on the floor. Very simple, but I think it's going to be very effective for a lot of people, particularly if you are quite restricted and tense in your movement. So let me know how you found it, let me know what breakthroughs you had. And other than that, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff, and we will see you in the next video. Have a great day.